It's been a bruising few days in the media world, at least if you're invested in a free, fair, and accurate press. Politico has been forced to correct a bombshell story it released over the weekend, claiming that pro-Palestinian protesters have been backed by Biden's biggest donors, including Bill Gates, George Soros, and the Rockefeller and Pritzker families. The story claimed that two pro-Palestinian Jewish groups, in particular Jewish Voice for Peace and If Not Now, were direct recipients of big Democratic Party funder cash. The initial reporting was picked up by both Fox News and Israel booster John Fetterman, who tweeted that the story confirmed, quote, anti-Israel astroturfing. But Andrew Perez at Rolling Stone did a deep dive on the filings cited in the report and found it simply did not hold up. In fact, as Perez reports in Rolling Stone, the funding claimed in the piece is much more attenuated than the headline suggests. JVP and If Not Now have received money from what Perez describes as a sprawling liberal donor-advised fund called the Tides Foundation. Large donors gave funds to the Tides and then directed where they wanted their money to go. The problem is that while the Gates Foundation has given money to Tides, they directed the money to go to, quote, establish a social outcomes market that unlocks greater philanthropic capital, which does not describe the goals of JVP or If Not Now. The Soros donations similarly were not directed toward projects related to the goals of the pro-ceasefire groups. Even more embarrassing for Politico's claim that the Rockefeller Fund gave to Tides and implicitly the pro-Palestinian groups is completely backward. The Tides Foundation gave $300,000 to the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, not the other way around. Politico was forced to make a correction. Fetterman's tweet has not been deleted. And actually, I think even since last night, there have been additional corrections. The correction box on the story is so long at this point that many people are asking, why wouldn't you just retract this entire thing altogether? Andrew Perez has had a kind of a running thread going as more and more errors in this article keep popping up. But apparently it did get the Trump retweet or whatever you call it over there. So what did they say? A truth that a lie goes around the world twice before the truth comes out of the gate. So
well, I don't know. I'm reading this correction. Obviously, there were errors in this story, I think, particularly with relation to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It looks like their grants specifically were not for anything having to do with Palestinian activism. And they did also misstate the nature of the Rockefeller donation, but in some way, according to this correction, the donation is more direct than the article said. The correction says that the Rockefeller Brothers Fund donated directly to Jewish Voice for Peace, and then I think now earlier in the article it says, $500,000 directly to Jewish Voice for Peace. So they did not make it through an intermediary. Similarly, it seems like the Soros people, the Open Society Foundation, made a statement for the article saying that, well, yes, we do give to pro-Palestinian groups. So I don't know. Is it a little nitpicky?
If you think so.
Yeah. Look, I'm not. If the point is, I gather you're taking umbrage at the idea that it's astroturfed. I don't think the protests are astroturfed. I think those are
John Fetterman
sincerely
does.
held beliefs of a small number of
John Fetterman does, Fox News
students.
does, and Donald Trump does. Meanwhile, I know we covered this on Friday, but there was a story of Jerry Seinfeld's wife giving $5,000 to the UCLA protest group. Of course, as we covered last week, counter-protesters, pro-Israel protesters at UCLA inflicted the most violent scene that we've seen at any college protest so far, pummeling at least one, I think multiple, but at least one female Bruins reporter, their local paper, repeatedly in the chest, causing 25 students to have to overnight in the hospital, firing rockets into the crowd, et cetera. Certainly not the kind of thing you would want to be associated with. That $5,000 donation has now come under a great deal of scrutiny. Many people, including Bill Ackman, have been supportive of some of these protests, including at UCLA, that they admitted to funding a large screen that was used to play clips from October 7th as part of the counter-protest. And it is interesting to see the contrast, the admitted funding from individuals for those kinds of efforts that are not characterized as astroturfing, while there's all this bizarre kind of right-wing discourse about who paid for all of the tents at Columbia. There must be somebody paying for these tents when you can buy those tents for like $30 on Amazon.
Well, look, I don't think, I think both sides, both groups have attracted certainly some support from wealthy people, but also that there's a lot of sincerely held sentiment on both sides. So I don't think either are particularly astroturfed. I don't think Seinfeld's $5,000 donation is any more important than the $500,000 from the Rockefeller Fund. But it's reflects the sincere disagreement on this issue that is out there in the discourse, and people are camping out in tents because that's what they want to do, not really because they're being paid to be there, is what I would say to that.
Yeah. All right, stick around. We've got more Rising for you coming up next.